Hi, this is the Superbook Show. My name is Gina Dry and I'm the author of The 5 Questions You Must Ask Your Therapist. And I'm here with some friends today. I'm going to introduce my guests. This is Dawn
Hello.
Carrington, who's designer and promoter of the Subway Soul Club. And over here is Thoroughly Modern Merrill, who works in consumer research. And over here is Patrice Kamens, who's a relationship astrologer. And today we're going to talk about relationships and men.
Our favourite
Girls.
subject.
It's always our favourite subject. So I'm going to start by picking a question. Oh, it's a very long question. I want to end my relationship with my boyfriend, but he says I owe him. I was nothing when I met him, and he says he made me what I am today. What shall I do? I'm going to answer this question first.
You start.
It sounds a little bit more like my relationship with my therapist, which I've written about in my book, funny enough. But I say dump him. If he says you owe him, you don't owe him anything. Love should be unconditional, and you should just, you don't owe him. What do you owe him
What is
for?
he offering her? What is he offering her to stay in this relationship? Not, you know, you owe me.
Yeah, it shouldn't be about tit for tat or feelings of obligation. That's not what a relationship is about.
Well, I think it's an issue about power, but I would say, as an astrologer, there would be a karmic component, which would be Saturn, but that still doesn't mean, even if you owe a karmic debt to someone, it doesn't mean, I must have been an aviator before, even if you owe a karmic debt, you have a choice as to when to end that debt. So that's another aside, and that is not justification for a guy saying that to you, so he wouldn't know that anyway. But you could say there might be some kind of instance that in that situation.
And it's interesting that she says she wants to end the relationship, and but you owe me. It's like, but he's not making any contribution as to, you know, what is good about this relationship, or even saying to her, no, stay with me because I love you, or something like that. It's
Right.
like you said, it's a power issue, and presumably he likes to be the one that's in control. Maybe she's been in a position in this relationship where he likes to keep her down a bit to make him feel good about himself.
Because he's not giving her the option. She says, I want to end the relationship, therefore she should end the relationship. It's not his decision to say, well, I'm not going to let you do that.
Well,
Yeah.
I think people make a lot of unspoken agreements too. If I put you through college, then you'll stay with me forever. And I think none of us are usually very clear about what we unconsciously want. And I think that's where we have to all grow up and be mature and say, I'll do this and you do this if we agree. But that was an unspoken thing that he just thinks now she's going to get it.
But the question is whether it has power over you, because my experience of that is that obligation, it can be extremely powerful. It's like when you're
So can guilt.
And so can guilt. And if you're obligated, for example, to go to a wedding and you don't want to go, you know, if you don't turn up, it's that kind of thing where you feel that that you have no way out. And I think that can be very powerful, and it's control. It's control and power. And that isn't going somewhere good, I think.
Yeah.
It's not going to improve. So I say dump him.
Yeah.
We
Right, next
both we all say yes.
Can I pick one?
I will. Okay. It says, what does it mean when a person says, it's not you, it's me? Presumably, again, we're talking about ending relationships, seems to be the theme. Well, yes, it is me, and it's me saying I don't want to be with you. So, I mean, it's supposedly that the cop-out answer, isn't it? You know, when you want to end a relationship.
It can be a cop-out question, but it can also be true. You know, you don't want to hurt somebody necessarily, and if you've got your own issues and you can't deal with being in a relationship, and it's nothing to do with the fine qualities of your partner,
Yes.
then it can indeed be the case. It
Yes.
sounds like such a cliche, but it's probably a cliche because it has elements of truth to it.
I think it has elements of truth, and I've said that before, and I felt it was true for me. But I think it could be used by someone as an excuse because they're not willing to say how they really feel. And the danger is you're going to take it really personally.
I think, again, it is generally cop-out if we're talking about what level of the relationship. If you've had discussions many times before and nothing has worked out, then I can say it's not you, it's me. But if it's just if that was the blanket statement in a text or whatever, then that to me is weak. And it's, you know,
But with
you
any
could have described.
with any relationship, it's not you and it's not me. It's how us
Yes.
works.
Yes.
So if the dynamic isn't working, I mean, you could say, oh, it's not you, it's me. Say like, I can't be in a relationship right now because I'm tied up with this, or I've got too many distractions, or I'm busy, or I haven't got the emotional capacity. But then the next day you could meet someone you have this wonderful, connection with, and suddenly me is okay suddenly. So it's about the dynamic between two people in a particular relationship. And yes, it is me, but it's me with you that's the problem.
Right.
Okay.
I'll pick the question. Okay. Such suspense. My boyfriend is really jealous and possessive. What shall I do about it? that one's easy. Just dump him.
Dump him. I say dump him too.
Could you repeat that?
Yeah. My boyfriend is really jealous and possessive. What should I do about it?
I meant the answer.
Yes, dump him.
Get an order of protection.
And I agree with dump him, because if he's jealous and possessive and he can't keep it to himself, because in a way we are a little bit. If you love someone madly and they're looking at some other woman, you might feel a twinge.
It's insecurity.
Or
He's
vice versa. But if it becomes a problem, his demonstration of that is abusive. And abuse will get worse. It will increase over time. It will increase. So it's not going to get any better.
No, it's not.
So if you enjoy it, fine.
and he's projecting his insecurities onto her. So it's not. Again, it's not you. It's him. Because it's like you're doing something wrong because you're you're talking to that man or something. It's your fault. This relationship is not good. I'm not happy. You're making me unhappy because you're doing something wrong. Where it's really much more about his insecurities and that disruptive.
I think again, sometimes it's flattering initially if you're that kind of person who wants something intense, but if it happens too soon, well, it shouldn't be happening at all, but if it can be initially flattering, but once again, it's control, power, and that's not the sign of a healthy relationship. So
Again, it's probably only going to get worse. So
yes.
Yeah.
My boyfriend tells me what to do all the time. We're close to her and how to wear my hair. What shall I do?
the same
Well,
question.
I mean, this hasn't happened to me for a long time, and there's no way this person will be in my life. They're going to like what they see and like what they get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, I'm not a pinnacle.
You can dump him and ask another question if
Yes,
you like,
I think
because I say
that's
dump
Yeah,
him.
Is it the same? Okay, that's basically the same.
She's got to dump them, shall
Okay, can a man break up with a woman by email, Skype, text without need for lengthy explanation? We were discussing this. I think if it's a 1 week relationship or a 2 week relationship, sure. If you haven't reached any real level of intimacy or connection, I think that's fine because this is our society nowadays. Particularly if you're under the age of 30, your entire relationship is lived on a text message. But if it's a 2-year relationship, I think obviously it requires a lot more commitment. So
I think what it really boils down to, for women anyway, is they kind of need some level of closure, a reason, an excuse, some kind of justification for why the relationship is ending.
An explanation.
An explanation. I mean, it may not even be a true explanation, but we somehow feel reassured if the guy takes the time to say, I'm sorry, I don't want to be in this because. The worst thing you can do is nothing.
yes.
And just disappear. And so I would rather have an email, much rather have an email saying, I'm sorry, no one wants to do this, than somebody just fails to call for the next 6 months.
I think I would be upset. I would be upset if I just got an email message or a text message.
Well, they sent us along.
I think so. But even if it was short in a way, I still wouldn't like it because I think, why can't you just pick up the phone and speak?
Well, it shows a lack of courage, and men don't want to deal with women's emotion. They're worried about an
Yes.
emotional response. And I guess for women, maybe we've got to learn to be able to handle what we're told so that we don't continue the stereotype of
Yes.
hysteria.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street, but most people are just too weak of character to really bother.
Well, it also illustrates profound lack of manners and courtesy. I can't imagine that anybody would break up with somebody that way. I guess it happens.
I think these days, I think 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it was was a case of the guy had to pick up the phone and tell you if he didn't want to see you anymore. Whereas now we have the option of email, and we have the option of text, so it is the easy way of doing things. And you know, I've been in short, flings where the guy's changed his mind, and I've been content with an email. I haven't felt too bad about that form. I suppose on another level, it's kind of hard if somebody's standing in front of you. I mean, I knew somebody that was in a relationship for a long time. It was a long-distance relationship, transatlantic, and he went back home. The girlfriend met him at the airport, and then she dumped him in person. Now, I didn't want to do this on the phone, but I mean, really, I think I would rather have actually been told in an email
that would have been more
to fly all the way down to America. So, yeah, there's something to be said for that.
Well, I'm going to have to talk about my therapist again, because it's all I write about in my book, and he is essentially, I had a relationship with him of sorts, and when I entered the relationship, I wrote a very nice letter saying thank you very much for everything that you've done for me, and here's money I owe you, etc., and sent the letter, and I'm not coming back for any more therapy. His response was to pick me up and scream and shout and yell at me down the phone. How dare you do this? This isn't the way we do things. You know we don't do things like this. You can't do this. I'm so angry at you, I cannot speak to you. And then hung up the phone on me, obviously designed to make me call back and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't do this. And I didn't call, I didn't call back, but the letter in that instance I think was appropriate, and his response was totally inappropriate.
Well, the letter was professional, and his response was
unprofessional.
Yeah, lacking in boundaries.
Yeah.
Courtesy, that's really what we require. Courtesy. Whatever form that takes, courtesy.
It's my turn to ask questions. Ooh, I love questions. My book's all about questions. Here's some more questions. This isn't. Well, it must be one I wrote. My boyfriend thinks I should spend time with his family, but he won't spend time with mine because he says they're nasty to me. What shall I do? Now, I think this is very interesting, and I have to talk about the therapist again because it's my own experience of this, which is, it's very subtle, you see, because maybe you have some problem with your family, and he said they're nasty to you, and you think, oh yeah, maybe they were. So then you buy it. It's kind of it's a very sneaky sort of manipulation, and really, if it was your boyfriend or something, you should be figuring out a way to deal with it, not a way to cut the relationship. What he's doing is pulling the girlfriend away from her family and breaking that relationship. And I've seen that happen, not just with the therapist, but I've seen people in marriages and partners where the partner has pulled someone away from their true family by saying presumably statements like this that are essentially controlling.
So abusers do
It's
that.
abusive,
They,
yeah.
on the most extreme case, they isolate and separate you from your friends, your family, or anyone that is intimate in your life. So, I mean, that's the severe case. This is more, mundane reality, but still, it's unbalanced.
Yes, it is just definitely about balance, and just the willingness to do something for you that maybe they don't particularly like. I mean, assuming that this family aren't completely horrible and are putting cyanide in his cream tart or something, maybe suck it up. If it's going to work both ways, just wait for the plane to go. It's a gesture to say I am in this relationship and I'm committed to you and I will do this for you.
especially if you're spending time with my family, then I'm willing to spend time with your family. It's got to be fairly balanced.
It's a one-sided relationship. Why do we spend time with yours and not with our own? It's one-sided.
And also, I think, have words with the family and say, look, do me a favour, please. Can we find a way of getting on or making it feel more comfortable or something? Chances are we'd rather stay home and watch the football. But
Okay.
it's my turn. hope I get one that doesn't involve dump my boyfriend. Okay. What are some of the causes? Oh, this is a good one. What are some of the causes of dysfunctional relationships? How long have you got? Power struggles, I suppose, is one of the most consistent things. Where one person, where it's not an equal partnership, somebody's trying to control the other one. Poor communication. Too much of the wrong kind of communication. Insecurity probably is at the root of a lot of things, and it's usually the person that is causing the aggravation that is the most insecure. So there's so many different things you can say about this. Gina?
Control.
Yes.
If people are controlling or manipulative in the relationship, and abuse starts off very subtly, just insidious. Why are you wearing that top? What are you doing that for? Or do this or do that, and then it builds up. And then when you've been in a relationship for a long time, it gradually gets worse and worse. And in the end, I'm sure manipulation, control and abuse have something to do with relationships not working.
Yes. And I would also say that a dysfunctional relationship cannot exist unless both people choose to stay in it.
That's very true. That's very true. I think another thing that would be behind a dysfunctional relationship is any kind of dishonesty.
Oh yes.
Definitely. That's what comes to mind immediately. Anything that's dishonest, a lie.
I think it all can be summed up in one way with emotional immaturity, and I think, and again, it's not necessarily the intellectual package, but we're talking. Most people are at some distorted emotional age. Like I might be 18 emotionally, and the man I'm dating is 6 emotionally. Now that's not going to work. So you've got to find.
But
your
it's ever so
emotional
common.
It's ever so common. But I just think that, and it's deeper than that. But I think that's significant, because then all the other things are like ancillary, streams off of that basic immaturity and unrealistic expectation.
And we tend to take dysfunctional relationships are often ones where people have grown up around dysfunctional relationships, so they're kind of playing out a pattern again. So if you had parents that were always rowing or fighting, and then it's so often that people grow up and go and choose themselves a partner that does exactly the same thing to them. So on some level we choose our dysfunctional relationships. We don't choose somebody that's going to make us feel safe and secure and loved and supported. We go choose the scary psycho that...
That makes it an interesting question about why we understand some things about abuse, but we're not very good at understanding how to end it in our relationships. I mean, how do you, like you say, you attract the same thing that you've had in a family, or you attract the same partner who does exactly the same thing in your next relationship, and how do you actually end abuse so it doesn't happen again?
Right, but also even, it doesn't have to get to the point where it's abuse. There can be one area or some areas of dysfunction in a relationship and other areas that are working.
That's true.
And so, it can be very hard to, we're jokingly calling this the dump him show, but it's not always easy to just say, right, I'm done and I want no more to do with this relationship. If there are elements of it that are working, it can be very, very difficult to just completely disengage from it.
Well, and also it depends on whether the person you're in a relationship with is willing to work on it and resolve the issue. Because if he understands he's abusive, he may just say, I want to stop this. That's different from someone who is not willing to recognise they do it, and not willing to acknowledge it, and not willing to deal with it on all levels and say, it's your fault, it's because you're this. If someone is, okay, I acknowledge I have some issues and I see you have some issues and somehow we spark each other off, let's see how we can work it out. That's very different. You wouldn't want to you don't want to dump him. You want him.
Yes.
Right. It goes just back to what Dawn was saying about one level of dysfunction is bad communication. Yeah.
And taking responsibility for how the relationship is playing out. Because if everything is the other person's fault, you're going to stay dysfunctional. There's this, you're not communicating, issues are not being resolved. You have to take responsibility for your own part in the relationship. What is it that's not working that you can fix? If the other person is prepared to look and be honest about things that they're doing wrong. I hate to use that expression, but you know, the thing that they're doing that is agitating things, and you also have to do the same thing for yourself. Because if it's always the other person's fault, you're not going anywhere.
Well, it's like two people are two jagged puzzle pieces, and you happen to find each other in those nooks and crannies, and he fits into the part that's damaged about you, and you fit in the part that works for him, and it is self-knowledge at some point, changing your energetic patterns, I think, because yes, I think it's very hard to get out of an abusive relationship. And I also think, again, it is a level of maturity in the sense that, you know, there's the book, The Starter Marriage. Basically, most first marriages fail. And it's because we're repeating patterns from childhood. Again, all the things we've already been saying. There's an assumption that, you know, you just fall, or you married somebody who's just like your friends or whatever, but it's not done with a lot of foresight and thought.
And maturity.
And maturity, of course. And so therefore, maybe that second marriage possibly has a chance, or as a mature person, you start to realize, okay, this is where I, you know, have problems, and this is, but it is about each person owning and taking responsibility for their piece in it.
So that just made me want to ask a totally off the cuff question, which is, do you think if you've had a relationship that didn't work,
We attract because we want to help somebody, we want to save somebody, which we think is a very open-minded, fabulous, loving, Christ-like thing. Actually, it's also a sense of lack of worth too, because you're saying, well, this person isn't strong enough to do it on their own. You know, I mean, there's many different, you know, it can get very twisted in terms of why we do things, and we all tell ourselves we're doing it for the right reasons, but it takes a lot of self-analysis, I think, to really figure it out. And at some point, you just don't want to be with someone who is not at the same level of development as yourself, because it's not going to work.
Yeah. Okay, should we go for another question?
yes, pass it over to Meryl.
And if all else fails, dump him.
I think we've been talking about all of this all along. Name 5 things that are deal breakers when entering a relationship. I think we've covered a lot of them already.
Well, we've talked about the things that you want out, so this is the other way around.
What
This
is
is the
okay.
positive. What positive things would we like?
Well, this is, you know,
Okay, I've got one. Choice.
Yeah, trust.
I want my relationship with a man or anyone really, for that person to give me choice, to not control me, not manipulate me, you know, to allow me to do what I want to do and to be who I am, and respect that, and let me do what I need to do in life. Choice.
Yeah, someone that accepts you for who you are. Oh, deal breakers. Well,
I think chemistry for sure. Chemistry for sure is a necessary requirement, but you need at least a few of the other ones.
well, I decided I had 3 new rules after some not too successful relationships. One of them was top rule: no triangulation. There isn't another girlfriend, there isn't a wife, you know, there's not somebody else in the picture competing with me for the guy's attention. So that's the absolute deal breaker as far as I'm concerned. He could be the most gorgeous man in the world.
He has to be available.
He has to be available physically and emotionally.
Then how do you know if he's available emotionally when you meet him?
That's a whole other show.
I think you find that out. You discover that as you go, because when you meet someone initially and they're so madly in love with you and they're taking you out to dinner and telling you how wonderful you are, you don't know. No, it's only when the relationship gets to a certain point that they suddenly hit that, oh, this is too close for me, you know, and they hit that issue. I don't want to be in an intimate relationship. Or I do and I don't. I do and I don't. So I'm going to change my mind every 5 minutes.
What were your other 2 rules though?
There was no triangulation. So the second of the 3 rules, the deal breakers, no secrecy. I.e., if somebody is not willing to be public about my relationship with this person, I don't want to be in that relationship. I don't want to be a bit on the side, the other woman, the hidden thing, or just somebody that they don't want to admit to being with, because that's not good for your self-confidence, your
No, they should
self-esteem.
be absolutely proud and over the moon
Exactly.
that they're
If the person
fortunate
really-
enough to grace your arm.
Absolutely. So that's one of my deal breakers. And then the last one is simply no bullshit.
How do you enforce that one?
So
That could mean anything.
yes.
But it's
Openness, honesty,
courtesy.
I think trust in allowing someone to grow. Again, that may not be what everybody wants, but to me, I want somebody who is willing to grow, willing to work on themselves. Again, not in like some major therapy place, but just the idea that they're actually willing to look into themselves.
To talk to you.
And look at allow their potential to manifest. And so someone who is depressed is not really easy to be around. Those are basic deal breakers right there. If they're not trying to get their life in order, it's like you can't, that's a drag. It's basically a drag.
Yes.
Yeah. Sound mental health would be a good
Sound
requirement.
mental health, yes, that would be nice. Not in prison.
Yeah.
Okay, well I guess we can go to another question.
Okay, well, this has been the Superbook Show, and if you have any questions for any of the guests on the show today, you can email Superbooks at superbook7@yahoo.com. I got that right, Yahoo. And it's been Patrice Kamen, relationship astrologer, Dawn Carrington, who runs Subway Soul, Thoroughly Modern Meryl,
Consumer researcher.
thank you, consumer researcher, and Gina Dry, the author of the 5 questions you must ask your therapist. So, we've got time for one more question.
Okay, Patrice, do you want to?
One word answer.
30 seconds.
What creates chemistry between people? Well, I have to say as an astrologer, get my bit in Mars and Venus. Mars is your sex drive, Venus is your love nature. Doesn't mean that all the rest of the things will work out, but that should at least work out.
Chemistry.
Sense of humor, definitely. Sharing a sense of humor and having a good laugh together,
Sense
I
of
think,
humour.
makes for good chemistry.
Yes, definitely. That's one we all agree on then.
Yes.
Sense of
Yes.
humour.
Make us laugh.
Make us
boys.
laugh, and we're right there.
Because it's very interesting, as I was saying, as we were chatting earlier, you can have the most attractive man in the world with the most fabulous job, and he has everything on the list.
No chemistry.
If there's no chemistry, you can't make it happen.
And thank you for being the Superbook Show. And thank you very much. Any questions at all regarding this show or regarding anything you heard on the show, email superbooks7@yahoo.com. Thank you very much.